Welcome to another edition of TM3 Impact. My name is Tomas Martinez, and today I am really excited because we have Eric Collins. He is Young Life San Antonio East Area Director. Eric, so glad you're here on TM3 Impact.
Yeah, thank you, Tomas.
Yes.
Glad to be here.
Well, listen, we were already talking just before, and you were sharing a part of your life. I was like, okay, wait. We got to get this recorded. Yeah. Hold on. Well, I'm so glad you're here. You and I met at an art auction fundraiser for Young Life. I had never had any interaction with Young Life. I don't know if you know that. That was my first interaction ever with Young Life. And I walked up to you and I said, we need to meet. We gotta have lunch. We gotta do something, and so here we are. I'm really, really excited to have you on the show. So let's start off. Tell me kind of your journey, Cliff Note version of like where you grew up and how you came to be in San Antonio.
Yeah. So I grew up in Blanco, Texas. North 281.
That's a suburb,
which is wild.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Because that was the hill country.
That was, yes.
And to get to San Antonio, it took about 40 minutes, and the Walmart on 1604 was the beginning of civilization.
Yes.
And so it's been wild to see it develop. But I grew up in Blanco, Texas, and then I always had family in San Antonio. And so I would spend summers or just a lot of my time coming up to San Antonio. And it wasn't until I was giving a club talk about 5 years ago, I was trying to make an illustration that God's perspective is from the top down, and so that he can see the pieces of the puzzle. Yes. And I'm thinking about my great-grandma's house and how much time I spent over there. And so I asked my mom, where was it? And she gave me an address, and I Google it, and it happened to be two plots away from the school that I now serve at.
You're kidding me.
I kid you not.
Your mom's house was right there by St.
My great-grandma's.
Your great-grandma's house was right by St. Philip's.
No, so it was by Healy Murphy High School.
Healy Murphy High School. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was just a big, it blew me away that I didn't even know that school was there. I was 12 years old, just playing on great-grandma's front porch, and all these years later, I'm called right back to that same neighborhood and area, and man, it's amazing. But I grew up in Blanco, Texas, and small town. I guess the quickest way I can describe it is like Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, of course.
It was. There wasn't. It could idle hands, and there wasn't much to do there except to play football.
Yeah.
And so we were all about football. We were good at football, and a lot of the identity of the town
came
was
from that
football.
Yeah.
And so it was a wonderful childhood. Yeah. But a lot of my identity was in football.
Mom, dad, so, no divorce?
No, there was divorce.
Yeah.
So my dad worked in the oil field.
Okay.
He was 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
And my mom, she just took care of the house, held us down while he was gone. And when I was 12, they made me aware that they had divorced.
Okay.
So my dad continued staying at the house for quite a while after that.
Yeah.
Because it was 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. So I guess he could manage being home for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But it just, after that happened, we went from sitting at the dinner table for dinner to me taking my food to my room. The house
at the age of 12.
Yeah.
It changed everything.
Yeah, the house never healed.
Yeah.
My little brother, we just never felt like a family again after that moment.
It's tough. That's tough. That's a tough age too. I think I was 7, 8. I remember that when my parents got divorced. It was tough. And so when I think about obviously I know the evolution of where you are today, but I want to go back to, because Young Life came into your life in high school. And so I'm curious to tell the story of that evolution of Young Life coming to Blanco, Texas. How long had it been in Blanco, Texas, Young Life, at that point?
No, so it came my junior year.
Oh, so that was the first year?
First year of Young Life.
Of all Young Life is the year you're a junior?
Yes.
Wow. That's really wow. Okay. So talk about that introduction and then where you were at and then and just the impact that it made on your life.
Yeah. So at that time, my junior year, I'll say like I always felt like the Holy Spirit was present, though I didn't have the words to go with it.
Okay.
I didn't go to church, didn't grow up in the church, but there was always some like wisdom speaking to me and calling me, and I always knew right from wrong without knowing why I knew right from wrong.
Interesting.
But I still very much love to choose wrong.
I like how you phrased that.
Yeah. And, you know, Young Life comes to my town when I'm a junior. And at this time, I was just successful on the football field.
What position?
I was a running back.
Oh, snap. Okay.
So, yeah, I get to score the touchdowns
Yeah.
and get the praise.
You get the glory. You get the stickers.
Yeah, I get the stickers. And so that really, and it's like Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
Like we go to the grocery store and there's people just stopping you and like, hey, what do they look like next week? What's your game plan? How are y'all preparing for them? And
Really?
and free barbecue because like, hey boys, you did good. And yeah, it was just so much of the culture. So that alongside with just being what I thought was popular to everyone.
Yeah.
You know, I learned how to skateboard because I wanted to be cool with the skaters. I learned how to play guitar because I wanted to be cool with the band guys. I just wanted to be liked or accepted or appreciated.
Fit in. Did that start from an early age? Did you kind of, because that's kind of hard to do to just, what age did you pick up skateboarding and guitar playing? Like, was this 14, 15?
That was like 12.
Okay, wow, okay.
Yeah, skateboarding was 12.
Okay.
Guitar was earlier. That was like, I don't know, 7.
Okay, wow. That's cool.
Yeah, I really wanted to fit in with everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, sometimes that was good and sometimes that was bad.
Right.
And I always liked to hang out with the older kids too.
Okay.
Which in middle school got me in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Because I started hanging out with some high schoolers and got introduced to some things that were really harmful to me, but I was really trying to keep this appearance and be cool.
Yeah.
So Young Life comes.
Yeah.
And it's drawing a crowd and there's free food. So I'm like, you know, I can't lose anything here.
Right.
It's drawing a crowd. I can show up.
Do you remember the first one you walked into? Do you remember that?
I do.
Where was it at?
So it was at this, it's just this giant, I think it used to be an auction barn.
Okay.
And then when I was growing up, it was an antique store. But it's just this huge building that's now a rec center for Young Life. And I remember going in, and last time I'd gone in, it was just filled to the brim with antiques.
Okay.
This is a big building. Like, you had to squeeze through all these antiques. Yeah. And so I was impressed with how it was cleaned out, and, like, it just felt like a comfortable space. Mm-hmm. But there's, you know, students walking around, people are eating, having a good time.
Probably, what, 30, 40 people there that night?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that's a pretty big crowd in Blanco,
That's
Texas.
a big crowd.
I graduated with 69, so...
it's like everybody's there.
Yeah, everybody's there.
Yeah.
So I walk in, and, like, they start playing these games and singing, and I just sit in the back. You know, when they sing the songs, they try to put their arms around me. I'm like, don't touch me. But everyone was smiling and so full of joy. And I remember just thinking, like, this is fake. Like, you all can't be this happy. This isn't real. So immediately, like, it pushed against me. Like, I pushed against it.
Yeah. And to give context, so people understand Young Life, it started in 1941, right? About that time, and the for mission. I looked this up, right? It's God-centered. It's based on hope, fun, and friendship, and potential, and it's really a way to try to minister to kids at a younger age by making it more fun and getting people together. Would you kind of say that was the original intent and what it is today, even today?
Yeah, it's just extremely relational. So just meeting the students where they are.
Yeah.
Basketball court, football field, just going into their world.
Yeah.
modeling Christ through the leader's life,
Yeah.
and inviting them in to these great opportunities that we provide.
That's cool. But you were pushing against it at 17.
Man, because I just did not believe that
Yeah.
people could have that much joy. For me, the world was painful, and for me, it was a front, because I was putting on mask to be the skater guy, the football player, and I'd become so good at taking off and putting on masks that I assumed everyone else was doing it. So this is just a new mask.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And so when Young Life was there, I was just like, this is borderline a cult.
Yeah.
People can't be this happy.
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense. And then, there's a lady named Chris Shipman.
Yeah.
Her son is a grade above me, and she has another son a grade below me. And she just saw something in me. Like, this kid that's in the back of the room doesn't want to be touched. And she didn't stop pursuing me. She just kept asking about me, kept inviting me to things. I still don't know if she would even be able to articulate what she saw in me.
Yeah.
But she saw something, and she went for it, and I'm thankful she did.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's a big story in my life. Is there's been a lot of women in my life that saw something in me and helped nurture and develop that.
Yeah.
So it's just been crazy. I could see how God sent these ladies that just brought me this extravagant love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she didn't give up on me. She got me to Young Life Camp, which we were talking about.
Yes. Talk about camp. Yeah.
It should not be called camping.
Okay. I saw the pictures earlier. I agree. It's not camping.
No, it's a resort.
It is a resort.
Yeah.
When I saw that building, I go, that's a resort. That's not a camp.
100%.
Yeah.
But everything about it is designed for when a student gets off the bus to just be in awe and say, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, leading up to this camp, again, because I would imagine you're still kind of like, I don't know about it. They're too happy. They're too this. They're too that. They want to give me hugs. Even going up to the camp, was there still a little bit of this of almost like I've got my arm up. You're kind of like, I'm not sure about all of this.
Oh,
even
100%.
going up. Okay.
I'm talking about on the bus to camp.
Oh wow.
I'd gone to a party the night before.
Okay. Talk about that.
Yeah. So my English teacher, he got me tickets to the Kerrville Folk Festival.
Okay.
And this folk festival is known for just a lot of artists going out there, kind of being like free love.
Yeah.
Like a little mini Woodstock.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I go out there and I'm just taking all the culture in. And there's this girl that comes up that knows my friend's friend.
Yeah.
Well, the sister and the one who we end up buying some weed from.
Yeah.
His sister buys some weed. She takes off.
Yeah.
Well, Kerrville got picked up first on this bus trip, and then they picked up the sister in Kerrville first to go to camp, unbeknownst to me.
You didn't know?
No.
So because y'all were both out.
We're both partying at the Kerrville Folk Festival.
The day before you go for camp. I got you.
And
I'm following.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so the bus picks up the Kerrville people.
Yeah.
That shows up in Blanco. I get on the bus and I'm like, oh.
And you see her?
I see you. And so I'm like, I knew
Here
this
we
was,
go. Here we go. Yeah.
I just knew this wasn't.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't what it was presented to be.
Yeah.
Because if she's there, I'm here.
Yeah.
This can't be what they expected. And so even on the bus ride out there, I had my headphones on, didn't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
If I did talk to somebody, it was that girl that I knew was down.
Yeah. What year was this?
This was 2007.
7. Okay. Got it. Keep going.
2007.
Yeah.
And we get there. I would still she would kind of still be my point of contact of hey, you think this stuff's funny? Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. And she probably was struggling in the same way you were, right? Like just, hey, is this real? Right? She was probably struggling too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was just so confused.
Yeah.
And so going out to camp, it's such an unfamiliar setting because everything is so extravagant. So wow, you're being served by people who have given up their time to volunteer to serve you. And so it's just so not every day
Yeah.
that what I try to do is cling on to a piece of home because this was so uncomfortable to experience.
Yeah.
And so that's where I would go back to her and be like, yeah, this is silly, right? This doesn't make sense. But midway through the week, I'm listening to the message they're presenting. I'm seeing the way the life is being lived out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm starting to think like, okay, if there's something to this, this is the place that I'm going to find out.
Yeah.
And on the last night, the speaker takes us all week through the progression of our sin, Jesus Christ, life with him, and then he presents the cross.
Yeah.
And then they give us 15 minutes of silence, cut all the lights off in camp. And the camp I went to was called Crooked Creek.
Okay.
It's in Colorado. It's
still out there today. They still use it.
Out there in the mountains. Just so gorgeous. When they cut the lights off, you can see the galaxy.
Yeah.
The stars are so bright. It is so beautiful.
Yeah.
So they cut the lights off, and it's just quiet. You have a huge amount of high schoolers that may have never experienced that kind of silence.
Yeah.
It's just profound. And so I'm sitting in my head, and I'm like, God, if you're real, now's the time to say something.
Yeah.
And I hear it as clear as I've ever heard any voice.
Yeah.
He said, Eric, I love you.
Yeah.
And I've always loved you. And I just, boom. From there, I could never deny that there is a God.
Yeah.
I just knew it in my heart, my soul. Like from that moment on, I was changed.
It's go time.
Yep.
Wow. That's awesome. So getting back on that bus and going back, I imagine you came back, you were a different Eric.
Very different.
And that was the summer between your junior and senior year?
It was.
So senior year had to be intense. Star football player. You're now this new life, this new mindset, right? This new identity. Walk through that your senior year.
Oh, man. Yeah, it was wild. So I like to go all in.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
Yeah. When I learned to skateboard, I was like, I was all in.
Yeah.
Football, all in. And so now I remember my leader, I was like, where do I start in this Bible? Like, give me a Bible. I'm gonna read it right now.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm gonna read the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure this out tonight.
I love it.
And so, I started off that way, going into my senior year. I'm trying to now, I'm taking all these masks off my shelf and putting them in a box and throwing them down in the river. And now I've got this, well, who am I?
Yeah.
What does my face look like? And so I'm trying to figure that out. And then in the midst of that, I'm trying to figure out, well, who are my friends? Like, who supports this new face? And yeah, I got to tell you, my senior year was already looking to be very lonely.
Yeah.
Because I did have older friends who graduated the year before.
You're right.
I had a couple of younger friends that were still there, but just didn't have a ton of really heavy connections in my class.
Yeah.
And then I start talking about Jesus.
Yeah.
And especially in a small town, they're like, Jesus,
yeah,
bro, I know you. Like,
yeah,
we partied a week ago. What are you talking about, Jesus?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yeah, I just can't explain it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. Like, I'm just different.
Yeah.
Like, different. Yeah, we'll see in a week. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to figure out who I am. And it became incredibly lonely.
Yeah.
And I still acted out, and the ag teachers wouldn't touch me. So I drove them crazy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was a husband and a wife, and I tormented them, and they were like, you can't be an ag.
Oh no.
So my senior year, I had 3 or 4 home ec classes.
Oh goodness. Okay.
And so I had this wonderful teacher, Miss Petrie, who she saw something in me.
Yeah.
And then she saw me starting to change, and she really nurtured that. And
That's good.
But so it's a small school. You run into everybody there.
Yeah.
But I'm able to stay for like 4 periods in just this little
Oh wow.
little
with that one
place,
teacher.
With this one teacher.
Wow.
And it just gave me that time and that space that I needed to ask those big questions in my head, to walk through like, who am I going to be? What do I want to do?
Yeah.
What's my identity? And so it was an incredible blessing.
Yeah. And then how did football go that year?
It went well.
Your senior year?
It went well.
Yeah.
We had a lot of the guys that graduated the year before. They were some big guys, some powerhouses. So it went well. It was different.
Yeah.
I was still very passionate.
Yeah.
And put everything out there for it, but there wasn't the identity, like, which is so strange because that's all I'd known. So when I believe I was 5.
Yeah.
I started Pee Wee
Football. Oh yeah.
And what my dad would do is I'd chug as much of a gallon of water as I could.
Okay.
And then he'd put some tools in my pads because all of that was,
You needed to weigh enough.
I had to, yep.
I knew exactly what your dad was doing.
So I had to weigh enough. And so I would get on that field and just get clobbered by these big guys.
Man.
But it
You
was
loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you loved it. Wow. Okay, so after high school, you go to college. You decide to go out and study. Remind me again, what were you studying out in Florida?
Yeah, so I went to Full Sail University to study sound engineering.
Sound engineering. Where did that come from? Just, what was the idea of that?
Man, so my dad told me I had to go to college.
Okay.
I was going to be the first Collins to graduate from college.
Yeah.
I have to go to college. Up until this point, I live in Blanco, Texas, and what I've done for work is I've built fences, I've cut cedar, I've stocked store shelves. I've been I set up bowling pins at our bowling alley.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yep.
they hired like 2 middle schoolers to actually set pins. There's
Do they still do that?
No robots.
Do they still do that? Oh, that's awesome.
Employing
I
the
love
youth
it.
since like the 30s.
I love it.
And so I'm like, what am I going to do? Like college? I
Yeah.
have no idea what I'm going to do for college.
Yeah.
But I love music.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, if I'm going to college, I want to do it for something I love.
Yeah.
Went for sound engineering, loved Full Sail University. It was a lot.
Yeah.
I was getting my associates in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Very intense program, but was amazing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's what I went to school for.
Got it. So you
that's how I got
get
there.
your associate. You end up in Nashville, right? You got an opportunity in Nashville, and you could speak to. You shared a little bit about that. What did you find in the music business where you were just like, okay, I'm not sure about this. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the options out of college are LA, New York, or Nashville. If you want to get into a studio, those are your options.
Okay.
At the time. I think Atlanta's popped up as a big hub.
Okay.
Now.
Yep.
So I was like, well, I'm from the country. I'd like to get back to the country.
Yeah.
Florida was pretty rough.
Yeah.
Just a lot
What
of
city?
transplants. I was in Orlando.
Orlando. Okay. Yeah.
It was Winter Park.
Yeah. Yep. I know where that is.
And it was it was rough in the sense of like a culture shift.
Yep.
I would hold doors open for people and they'd look at me like, what are you doing? Why do you even have time enough to do this? Like, it was kind of like a hustle. And so I wanted to go back to somewhere that was like Southern.
Yeah.
And so I pull into Nashville and I'll never forget, it's my first grocery trip run.
Yeah.
And I got my groceries loaded up. I get in my truck. I'm about to pull out and it starts pouring down rain.
Okay.
It's raining really, really hard. And I watch this like shopping cart start just drifting in the rain. And this truck starts to pull out. And I watch this person slam on their brakes, throw their truck in park, sprint out, grab the cart before the person runs into it and moves it to the side. It's like, thank you. It's like, yeah, no problem, brother. I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Like I'm back home with this
Yeah.
hospitality.
Yep.
So I started working or I had an internship at Blackbird Studio.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing opportunity, amazing studio. I loved capturing sound.
Yeah.
So I'm in my element, but the more and more involved I get, the more and more artists start requesting me or wanting me to help them set up.
Yeah.
And at this time, like what I started to see were these kind of outrageous requests.
I can only imagine.
We're in Nashville. They want me to run and get them chicken noodle soup, hold the chicken.
Oh,
And I'm
that's
like,
not possible.
yeah. I'm like, okay, what do you mean by that? So what they wanted was chicken noodle soup.
Yeah.
They wanted it to taste like chicken, but they wanted the chicken to be pulled out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, this is wild.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I can't even imagine saying that to another person.
Right.
It's like my dad would have slapped me upside the head for
Right.
saying something like that.
Yes.
And so those requests, like that's where it starts, and then it starts getting, it just started getting more overwhelming and wild and out there.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like I had people there.
Mm.
And then as a recording engineer, I was supposed to set up the room, help capture the sound, but just be a tool that translate what the producer wants to hear into the physical soundboard. And so it was a lot of like, just listen, but don't say anything. You're supposed to be invisible, as a matter of fact. Like if I even see you, you need to disappear.
Oh, interesting.
And I kept running into that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I really love this job.
Yeah.
I love what it entails, but the people had this arrogance and this sense of pride and this like just really a lack of respect for other humans. And so I got incredibly homesick.
Yeah.
So I saw an opportunity after my year internship to come back home.
Okay.
And I thought, and while I was in Nashville, I met some incredible artists that were studio musicians.
Okay.
So these guys live in Nashville. Whenever a producer needs a song or you've got an artist that's just a singer, you can hire these studio
band,
musicians.
yeah.
They come in and, I mean, I'm
That's
talking
cool.
super professional, amazing human beings.
Yeah.
Bob Babbitt's, that one. So he was Motown's bass player.
Oh, wow.
This man
And he lives up there.
lives,
Yeah.
well, he passed away.
Oh.
But he talked like he had just gravel
Yeah.
sitting in his chest. Huge Steelers fan.
Okay.
Would tell the studio, you know, like, oh no, you're gonna work around the Steelers football schedule.
Love it.
And just because of the musician he was,
And they would do it.
yes
Yeah,
sir, yes
yeah.
sir, Mr. Babbitt's.
Yeah.
Go back, listen to all Motown. That bass line,
Is him.
it's just glorious.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
There were amazing humans there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
What'd you do when you came back to San Antonio?
so I decided to go to Incarnate Word.
Ah, that's right. That's right. Yes.
Because I saw these studio musicians, they would come in, have a sheet of paper that said A, B, 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 A, C,
Yeah.
and lay down the most beautiful music I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And so I was like, they know a language that I don't know, so I want to learn that language. So I went to Incarnate Word for oh my gosh, for just general music.
Yeah. Music theory.
Music theory
Yeah.
was the first class they taught in that.
Yeah.
And from there, I was trying to decide whether I wanted to go into music therapy
Okay.
or work in the studio again with an instrument. And on my second semester, I also joined the football team.
Oh, really?
I do.
Wow.
I'm years removed from football.
Yeah. Did you walk on?
I walked on. Their football team was new
Yep.
at the time, and I should never have done that.
Yeah.
So for football, there's no BS.
No.
You can either play or you can't.
Yeah.
And I was a couple years removed, so I was having to work really hard to get
Yep.
back into that shape. For music, there's no BS. Like,
Yeah.
you can't just circle C and D on the test and hope that it
No.
works. No, your professor's gonna be like, play this piece.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to play it, you don't know how to play it.
Yeah.
So I'm in these two areas where
You were stretched so thin.
stretched so thin,
Yeah.
working as hard as I could to keep up with both of them. Very high demands.
Yeah.
And here I am again, like feeling lonely, stretched thin. And I get a call from Chris Shipman, who was my young life leader, who led me to the foot of Jesus.
Yeah.
Just loved me so well. She found out I was at Incarnate Word. And so just a couple of blocks down the road, she was holding Young Lives Club,
Okay.
which is Young Life's ministry to teen moms.
Yep.
And she called. She's like, hey, Eric, like, let's catch up. I meet her to catch up. She introduces me to Young Lives Club.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's amazing. Like, I'm so glad that you're doing this. She's like, well, hey, why don't you come to club? Can you help me with the projector? Can you help me, click play on the music?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I could do that, of course.
Yeah.
And so I show up to club, and these young girls, I mean, we're talking anywhere between like 13 and 17.
Wow.
With babies.
Yeah.
Trying to navigate that, and they've got older mentors assigned to them to help them just navigate this incredibly difficult task of raising a child, going to high school.
Yeah. And this is a ministry within Young Life. It's Young Lives. Yeah, it's a part of the same kind of concept that you had been a part of in high school.
Absolutely.
Got it. Okay.
So it was easy to plug into it. And so I'm just like, I'm observing.
Yeah.
I'm watching how this all goes down. And I'm seeing these older women loving the next generation.
Yeah.
And then the next generation loving the next generation.
Yeah.
And so I can just see how I fell in love with the ministry, because I can see the generational impact immediately.
Yep.
And so I stuck around, and I started volunteering regularly.
Yeah.
It was 4 or 5 years that I volunteered for Young Lives.
And this is all while you're still going to school, still trying working through your degree at Incarnate Word. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so I stopped working at Incarnate Word, taking out student loans, all that stuff. I was like, I'd just rather not.
Yeah.
My parents were like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah. I'm
like, no, I don't want to owe anybody anything.
Yeah.
And so I start working, and even as I start working in San Marcos, but I'm living back at home now, but I'm still commuting to San Antonio to make sure that I'm volunteering at Young Lives.
Wow.
And I made another move after that to work in Fredericksburg in carpentry.
Okay.
And I lived in Fredericksburg, and I would commute to San Antonio for Young Lives.
That's some serious driving.
That was an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Or one way.
Yeah, for sure.
But I love the ministry so much.
Yeah.
I believed in it.
Yeah.
And so another thing, like I couldn't stop going, because these children would see me, and I have a connection with them.
Yep.
And they're excited to see me, and I love them.
That's super cool.
And so I'm like, I got to come back. And then the mothers too. What I thought was amazing, and what just impacted me the most were for a lot of them, they hadn't had a male figure in their life that loved them unconditionally. It had all been based on the conditions around sexual gratification.
Yeah.
So for these young mothers to have somebody, a male in their lives, that just said, no, like, I love you because Jesus loves me, and he loves you.
Yeah.
Like, there's no conditions. And watching that, like, that breakdown in their head, like, wait, this is possible for me?
Yeah.
And then
it's huge.
Yeah. That's
huge.
It really made me think about some heavy things.
Yeah.
In my college years. And that's really where a lot of my education came from.
I bet.
Just being real life, real people, learning what these moms go through.
Yeah.
How they're getting through it. The people, the support system that we're trying to cultivate to make sure that they can get through anything.
What do you think during that time? What do you think? God was teaching you, because when we serve, there's lessons that you learn through that service. What do you think you were learning during that time?
I think I was learning that what I thought Christianity to be was false. I had an assumption because I feel God's call. And then part of that story is I felt incredibly lonely. Because friends weren't just hopping on board and being like, oh, Eric loves Jesus now. Yeah, this is awesome. And so I felt incredibly lonely. So then my theology was very immature. And I was like, oh, well, if I have a Bible and Jesus, I'm good. And then I had a friend named Will, while I was in Florida, invite me to his church. And it was an all-black church. I still don't even know denominations.
Yeah.
I'm like, which, y'all? It's not one church?
Yeah.
And so this was like a, I don't know, non-denominational, but it was wild.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah.
The people loved so well. I was just like, man, this is Christianity.
Yeah.
This is amazing. And then I come back to San Antonio and like, there's so much division.
Yep.
And there's like, what do you mean? Like, are you Catholic? Are you Episcopalian? And there's this, I was like, I don't know what I am. Like, I just want to like be in a community. I want to be loved. I'm loved by God. Like, I'm like, no, it's not really. And so I'm seeing all this division, and I'm thinking that church is now probably for more polished and like people who grew up in it. And it's not for me.
Yeah.
And then here's Young Lives. That's like, and at this time too, it was really heavy, and it still continues to be heavy. The church's role or activism towards Planned Parenthood or abortion.
Yeah.
And so I would see these like churchgoers who had a picket sign in their hand. It was like, if you get an abortion, like you kill that baby, they're going to hell. You're going to hell. But then I'm with people who are on the other side of it, and they're like, no, these students have chosen to have life, and we're going to enter into it with them and support them
and walk alongside them.
Yeah, because if we're gonna call them out and say like, hey, you have to have this baby, then we have to be about it and show up in their lives and like, okay, they're gonna have this baby. Now, what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
And so that was very formational in my faith of like, you cannot just speak about theology and what Jesus did without being called to action. And, like your heart has to change. You have to feel compelled to like, I cannot watch this happen anymore. I have to do something about it.
Yeah, I love that. And that I would imagine that probably grew more and more as you were there, in the relationships that you built and the kids that you would see throughout that program. Because it was, you might be seeing the same person and their child for a couple of years, and then the next mom would come with another child, right? And but you're interacting with them and just loving them along the way. That's powerful. Now, when did the area director for Eastside come about? Has it been about 2 years? What year did that come about when you became the director?
So that was 3 years ago.
Oh, it was 3 years. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was right during the pandemic.
It was.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you get
relational ministry.
Wow, that's wild. Now, by the way, I think who you marry matters, right? I know you're married. You have 2 kids, 2 boys.
I do.
And at what point did you and your wife meet throughout all of the, coming along the journey where we're at? What point did y'all meet?
Yeah, I was working in San Marcos, and man, I got a whole other story.
Yeah.
I was trying to get to the Air Force, felt called to
Really?
it. Yep.
Okay.
I wanted to be a SEER trainer.
Okay.
A survival, evasion, resistance, escape. I felt the Lord called me to it, went, signed up. My recruiter was like, hey, you need to choose another job. Like, nobody ever gives up this job. You could be waiting for 2, 3, 6 years.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I feel called to this. I passed the physical test, and then that week he calls me back and he's like, hey, you're not gonna believe it. 12 spots opened up. You're in.
What?
This is amazing. A friend comes back from Odessa. We go to celebrate his coming back.
Yeah. What year was this, by the way?
This was 2000.
18, 17?
Somewhere
around
that.
there? Yeah. Okay.
I'm really bad with dates.
That's all right. Yeah.
And so we go to celebrate, and he gets hammered.
Yeah.
And so I'm taking care of him. At this time, like I'm counting every calorie that I take in because I gotta go to MEPS and weigh in under 160.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I have a beer.
Yeah.
I remember I watched the Spurs get the floor wiped by the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yes.
And I was just so upset.
Yeah.
My friend we're supposed to stay at his friend's house. His friend gets in the car, peels out, takes off. My friend can't articulate to me where this is. So I go to take him back home in Blanco, and we get there. It's late at night. Lift him up on my shoulder, knock on the door. This man opens the door, screams, shuts the door.
Oh, gosh.
I'm like, what is this? Who is this? I hear him on the other side of the trailer calling the cops.
Oh, gosh.
Police station's literally a stone throw.
Yeah. Yeah.
To pick up a rock, hit it.
Yeah.
I'm like, Nate, we got to go. Like, he can't tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
The guy hears me say that, opens the door, says, you're not going anywhere. Drags Nate into the house.
You too? Both of y'all or just
him?
him?
He drags Nate.
Oh,
and
Nate,
so
got
then
it.
We're
got
playing
it.
like tug of war
Yeah.
with Nate.
Oh, gosh.
I love my brother. He's all of like 5'1".
Okay.
So we're really like playing tug of war with him. And then I hear freeze.
Oh, my goodness.
Look over my shoulder. Cop's got his gun drawn. I let go of Nate. Nate falls on top of that guy. I'm on the ground. This lady comes out of the room. She's like, oh, my gosh, what's happening? I'm like, ma'am, do you know Sherry Wilson?
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, they moved out 2 weeks ago.
Oh, gosh.
I'm like, oh, man. So the lady, she's just saying, she's apologizing.
Yeah.
The cop's telling me, shut up, puts me in handcuffs, takes me in. I get out, and I call my recruiter. I'm like, man, something tragic just happened.
Yeah.
He said, brother, I'm so sorry. I'm not your recruiter anymore. I retired. Like, you got a new guy.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Yeah. New guy opens up the file, like, just arrested.
Yeah.
We don't have time for this in the military. Boom, I'm done.
Whoa.
My plans completely derail. I'm trying to figure out what my life's going to be like. I get a call from another Christian ministry called Stillwater Sports Camp.
Yeah.
They need a TL or a tribe leader
Yeah.
for a weekend. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I head down there to serve, and then that's where I met Bailey.
And she was a TL as well?
Well, I don't know what they call it. It's like work crew, but she signed on for the summer.
Got it.
So I was just there for a week. She was there for the whole summer.
Yeah.
We meet at this time. I'm like, I was trying to cut ties because if I was going into the military, I was going to be stationed somewhere else. And I was just
You're
like,
cutting ties and calories. Yeah. Yeah.
Cutting it all, man. All of it. And
right.
So I meet her. Don't really think anything of it. I'm like, yeah, she's cute. I get her number to impress my guys at the table. All my like middle schoolers are like, yeah, you got her number. You got her number, bro.
Oh, that's funny.
And then a couple months later, she's coaching a volleyball team. I'm coming to San Antonio. I see it on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'll meet you over there. My friend lives over there.
Yeah.
Meet over there, start talking. And then we just kept meeting up.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I love being around her. She's a wonderful person.
Yeah.
And we kept meeting up. And I told her just from our first date, I was like, look, I'm not trying to play any games. I'm looking for my wife. If you're looking for that, stay on the train. If not, you can hop off. Like, no hard feelings.
Yeah.
She's like, no, this sounds good.
Yeah.
And boom, we just committed.
Wow. Yeah. So you got married? What year did you get married?
We got married in 2016.
2016. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So met at church camp. Basically church camp.
Yeah. Church camp.
And now you guys get to go to camp with, with Young Life. You
Yep.
take kids to camp.
We do.
Right? I'm curious, like, when you think about I know what inspired you to be a part, but let's go back. One quick question is, when they asked you to be the director, was anybody at the East Side at that point?
No.
So you started it. This was the first time it had ever been there.
Yes.
So when they asked you, like, what went through your mind of like, okay, I'm going to go to the East Side, St. Philip's area, and what was this high school you told me about?
Healy Murphy.
Healy Murphy. What was the mindset of like, okay, here's an opportunity? What was going through your mind?
Yeah. So when it was initially presented to me, I shut down. I was like, I don't want to go anywhere that there's not young lives. Because I really loved that ministry.
Okay, gotcha.
And
okay.
so it was...
and the teen mom aspect of it, you're
teen
like,
mom.
this is what I've been serving in. Got it. Keep going.
and so just like the non-parenting high schoolers,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if that's for me. And so I prayed about it, took some time. It's like, okay, this is still good. I'm still serving in Healy Murphy,
Yeah.
where the teen moms are.
Yeah.
I would just be serving the non-parenting teens, and then moving over to St. Philip's so that we can be in the central hub of the East Side.
Yeah.
That location is huge because there's bus routes that go by there. A lot of our students don't have transportation. So it's very strategic, and I got excited about it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, we can make this work. And so it's 2020 though.
Yeah.
So like,
What
can make it
month?
work.
When did they announce it? When they finally called you, they emailed you. Was it January, or was it like, we talking like June of 2020? Because those two dates are very different. Do you
Very
remember?
different.
Do you remember the time frame?
well, it was more towards, I would say, the latter of 2019.
Okay. All right.
So maybe like October.
Yeah.
Like we knew we were headed in that direction.
Got it.
And so, no, there was plenty of excitement.
Yeah.
Plenty of
Yeah.
momentum.
There was momentum, because that's why I'm saying,
Yes.
that's why I'm asking, because if it would have been, June of 2020, I'm just thinking like, at that point, just where we were in the pandemic was really different. So you had some momentum going in. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, there was excitement. There was momentum.
And you already knew so many people from Healy Murphy from your time serving over there.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Man, there's some incredible servants
Yeah.
that give their life and their time to serving those students at Healy Murphy.
Yeah.
They take pay cuts.
Wow.
They pour out their lives.
That's awesome.
And so I'd built relationships there for the last 5-6 years before this.
Yeah.
And so there was an infrastructure already there. There were relationships there.
Yeah.
The new relationships would come from St. Philip's.
Okay.
And that wasn't too hard.
Yeah.
People at this time, especially teachers, if they had somebody who said, hey, I'm willing to help.
Yeah.
Can I help you? They were like, come on.
Yeah.
Hop on. Grab this. Take this.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to go serve. And what I knew from the get-go was, instead of asking a teacher or a principal like, hey, can we do our program here? If we go and serve the teachers and the staff and the administration, then we can make an exponential impact, because these teachers are in the classroom.
Yep.
And so by loving them well, if they feel loved, then they take that love into the classroom, then they share it with the students. And I just knew that to be true.
Yep.
And so I knew that whether or not our ministry, like students started coming to us quickly or it took time, regardless of that the teachers felt loved and appreciated.
Right. Which is huge. I don't know if you know this, but I was a teacher for 11 years. Yeah. So I taught at Camelot, which is right over by Roosevelt High School. And, as a teacher, when you had that outside influence that would show that appreciation, it was just like, it meant a lot. It really, really did. And for everybody listening, if if you've got teachers in your lives, please share with them what they mean to your kids and why it's so important. Now, obviously, I would imagine, because I don't know if you remember the first question I asked you when we met. I said, "Do you live on the east side?"
Yes.
And you remember I would ask you that, and because I would imagine, I don't know how many people have asked you that, but I immediately was like, okay, you're serving on the east side. Do you live on the east side? And you answered yes. And I sat there and I was like, okay, I got to know more about this guy, because, it's one thing to volunteer on the east side, right? It's one thing to volunteer. It's another thing to say, you know what, I'm going to move and I'm going to commit my life and my family, my wife and my kids are going to go, and we're going to live on the east side as well. And so talk about that. Did you know that was going to be part of it, or did Young Life ask you to do that, or is it just kind of like, that's what I'm going to do?
For me, it was never, or for my wife and I, it was never a doubt that we were going to live there. We had built community. We had spent so much time with these students. It really only made sense to move into the neighborhood.
Because of your time at Healy Murphy?
Yeah.
Because were you already there prior to becoming the director? Were you already living?
I was.
Oh, you were?
Oh,
Okay.
prior to becoming the area director?
Yeah, but prior to coming to area director.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And so we knew, I knew that we wanted to serve the east side.
Yeah.
And so, finding a home was difficult.
Okay.
But God opened up the door.
Yeah.
And I just love it. We know all of our neighbors.
Yeah.
They're so good to my sons.
Yeah.
There's often a fear or a misconception from those who don't live in the east side. Like, typically one of the first questions I get is like, are y'all scared? Are y'all okay?
Yeah.
Like, are y'all safe?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I could feel safer.
Yeah.
I know my community and my neighbors, and they love my sons like so well. And
yeah.
So for me, it was just like, it was so natural, because I knew, like, if I run into the grocery store, like, here's another opportunity
Yep.
to see some of my students who are working there.
Yep.
And it wasn't so much of a like, let's move into the neighborhood for opportunity. It just seemed natural. If what we wanted to do was grow and build and intertwine ourselves into a community, you have to live there.
Yep.
You have to breathe there. You have to establish roots there.
Yep.
And so my wife and I don't know, we just felt called. We felt a strong calling to it. And
I love it.
got a house there, and we were just like, this is where we want to be.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it is it's a powerful thing, right? Here's a young man from Blanco, Texas, that served for 5 years with young pregnant moms on the east side at Healy Murphy. Finds out his great grandma lived how far away? Like a couple blocks, a block away?
I mean, not even a block. Like they
used to play there.
Lot, there was the next lot, and then there was Healy Murphy.
Yeah, yeah. And now fast forward so many years, and you're serving in the same community and pouring out your life, and pouring out your life. I have so much respect for what you're doing. And I really feel called to figure out, and I've been telling you this. We've talked, and I was like, we got to get you around my buddy Kevin. We got to figure out. I've got another buddy, Brian Mitchell's gonna watch this. That we've got to figure out, like, how do we pour into what you're doing and help out? And I know mean, really, you got to raise money, right? At the end of the day, you have to raise money for what you're doing. And you have the one main event is in Fiesta. It's a Fiesta event. Yes. Talk about this because you just got recognized. This is huge that you're now an official Fiesta event. Talk about that and the way it raises money for your program.
Yeah, so while I was volunteering with Young Lives, I met Andrea, who simultaneously started volunteering with Young Lives. And so I got to see Everett, just as a baby, and got to see Andrea and where she was at that time. And so as time went on, like, we kept that relationship going. And Andrea is a gifted artist, and she's gifted at communicating and bringing people in.
Yeah.
And so she also has a huge heart and love for these students, for this community. And so she's like, well, how can I put this together? And she started Art in the Garden.
Yeah. And
so at the Botanical Gardens, we have this opportunity where we can showcase local and national artist art that have been donated to us. People can bid on it. We can do it. There's like a live ask.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful date night.
Yeah.
It's so
a lot
amazing.
of fun.
She took the two gifts that she knew she had.
Yeah.
And she said, well, let me make something out of it. And that's what I'm so amazed with Andrea is, like, so often we know what our gifts are.
Yeah.
And we know how we can serve, but there's not that, there's a lack of confidence or just like security. And or maybe my gift can't serve the kingdom or these students, and I don't believe that.
Yeah. And
she was so confident, like, I can do this and I can do this. Let's put it together. Art in the Garden. Yeah. And it's a beautiful, amazing event.
How many years have y'all done it now? 3?
This will be our 4th year.
4th year. Okay.
So the first year was at Weathered Souls Brewery.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Man. And then she's like, I envisioned being at the garden and hanging this with the garden in the backdrop, and it's suspended with invisible wire. And
it was killer. That was killer.
I was just like, you can see that. I can't see that, but I see you.
Right.
And
right.
So I was like, I'll do whatever to help.
And what is that? Typically, what are you able to raise with that event? Like, what is that event able to raise?
So on average, it's about $40,000.
Wow. So that's pretty much, is that your whole budget, almost most of your budget?
Nah.
No, it's not even close. Okay.
No.
Yeah. Okay. That's a lot. That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. And it all goes towards the community.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just 100%. These students. And then also just the auction itself. So I'll invite some of the students to help me run it and work it. And
I got to meet them.
Last year, which was our first one at that venue.
Yep.
A couple of students were like, man, Eric, I've never been invited to something like this. I've never seen something like this. Yeah. And I was like, brother, I haven't either.
Eric,
like, if I didn't know Andrea, I wouldn't be invited here either.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it just blew me away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm so thankful and proud of her.
Well, shout out to Andrea and what she's done, because when we heard about it was like, hey, let's help out. We wanted to, we put it in the magazine. We wanted to try to get more tickets sold. I think y'all ended up selling it out. I mean, because there was no tables, right? I think people ran out of tables, which is amazing. It's fantastic. In fact, there was an art piece that me and another gentleman were actually bidding on. We were both bidding on. It was over in the silent auction, and ended up. I was talking with his girlfriend, and she's like, I really want this painting. And I said, it's okay. You can have the painting. I don't know where I'm going to put it. But it was a great event. I mean, the event was amazing, Now, when I think about the impact, right? Can you share a story about one of your students, and maybe it could be about camp, maybe because we've got some pictures about camp. Could you share a story of impact of because you've now done 4 summer camps so far since you've been there?
For San Antonio East.
For San Antonio East. Yeah. Share a success story, a story about someone that you can talk about that can show the impact of your energy and volunteering pouring in, and what is that, how that has helped maybe someone individually.
Yeah, man. So I've got a story. I'll take this student. I'll call him Mike.
Okay.
So Mike, I've been talking to him for two years now. He moves at a really slow pace. I'm just like, please come to club, like get involved in this. It's like, maybe, I don't know, maybe. Finally, I get Mike to come to camp.
After 2 years.
After 2 years, yeah.
Wow.
And just pursuit, showing up, consistency. Or I just wear him down, like
yeah,
one or the other. So Mike comes to camp. He experiences the gospel presented just as best as we possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
He reflects on it. He comes home a changed person.
Mm.
But he's coming back home.
Yeah.
And so the night he gets back, his parents tell him that the 2 people they trusted the most in the world, that they tasked with watching his younger twin sisters, had been having inappropriate relations with his younger twin sisters. So Mike is broken, and he picks up the phone and he calls his friends. His friends hadn't gone to camp. And so they're like, come on, like, we're going to pick you up. We're going to handle this. So Mike gets picked up, gets in the car. They go to these people's home, and Mike has a gun, and he's walking up to the door, and he gets hit, and he stops, and he reflects on the week that he just had. He reflects on this God that he just heard about. He reflects on, he like wakes up to like, what am I doing here in this moment? And this is the day he got back from camp.
Wow.
Takes a deep breath, turns around, walks back to the car, gets in the car, says, drive. They're like, what are you doing? Let's go handle it. Like, oh, I'm like, no. He's like, we're leaving that. Wow. You want to talk about forgiveness and redemption and the darkness that was pierced by the light because of his choice.
Yeah.
Like, so when I talk about what we do in Young Life as having an impact, it impacts lives in unimaginable ways. It's truly like the opportunity to walk alongside somebody and to love them for 2 years without condition. Like, my love for him was never about getting him on the bus to get to camp.
Yeah.
It was never about trying to get him to my program.
Yeah.
Like, you just never know where sharing that love you have from the overflow of Jesus will create this little piece of heaven on earth where atrocities can happen and the light can then shine on them and call them out, and there can be justice done.
Yeah.
Not vengeance, but justice can happen. I can't think of a better story. I mean, I've got 8 to 10 years of stories from post camp.
Right. And lives changed.
Yeah, camp is such a big experience, but more than anything, it's the consistency.
Yeah.
Just showing up in their lives every day without an agenda. Like, I'm coming because I love you.
Yeah.
Tell me something.
Yeah.
And then they talk because they're like, rarely do they have an adult in their life that doesn't have an agenda for their life. Yeah. And that's not a shot at the adults. Like,
Just life.
A teacher needs to get them to a certain grade level so that they can pass and get to the next. Like, it's just what it is.
Yeah.
You know, the parent is doing whatever they can to support them. So they need an adult that says, I have no agenda. Like,
Yeah.
I just want to love you.
Yeah.
How was your day?
Yeah.
And then listen. So I'll say 90% of my job is listening.
Yeah.
And my God, the revelations that they have themselves through talking to somebody who's willing to listen.
Yeah.
It's that simple. And lives are changed.
Lives are changed.
Lives are changed.
That's powerful. I love it. That's powerful. How do people volunteer for this? Because I know you have club. So club is a weekly gathering that you have. And the beautiful thing about your San Antonio East is you guys have a building right next to, I got to go to it. It's amazing. You've got a little area in the back where everybody can come hang out. You've got an area for kids. Hopefully did the lunch work out to where they can come hang out during lunch, or did they switch it again?
Yeah, so the high schoolers can't come during lunch.
Oh, that's a bummer.
But the college students do.
They do. Okay, cool. So they get to take advantage of it. Okay, good. And so how do people, so if somebody's listening to this and they're like, I want to be involved somehow, some way. I want to volunteer, kind of like what you did at Healy Murphy. How do they volunteer for this? How do they help out with Young Life or Young Lives?
Yeah, so they could go to our website, and there'll be a link, saeastyl.com.
Okay.
Just reach out to me. There are an infinite number of ways to volunteer, but one very tangible one is to come to club on Wednesday.
Okay.
That's what I ask. Come and see.
Yeah.
And if you feel called, it's going to happen on Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you don't, it's going to happen
It's going to happen on Wednesday.
I
love that.
It's just one of those things, like you either walk in the door and you see these students and the amazing people they are, and you're like, man, I want to be a part of this community.
Yeah.
Or you walk in the door and you're like, man, I'm glad that they're doing this.
Yeah.
But it's not my calling.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But I ask that you walk through the door.
Yeah.
Just got to come and see.
And you just had your first one last night.
We did.
How did it go? Tell me about it.
It was amazing. Truthfully, like the spirit of peace.
Wow. Yeah.
I just can't even describe it. Like the students, the leaders, everything that got poured into that club to be executed. Yeah. When it was executed, there was this peace, there was this unity, there was this community. Everyone, like, we felt like, and this is crazy to say, like, we felt like family. Even when I haven't always experienced that in my own family. There was like this richness of, no, I know you. Yeah. And us being able to speak openly into each other's lives and how much we love each other. Yeah. And not be ashamed of it. Yeah. You know, a lot of these students, they would never say out loud, I love you. Right. Because it's, oh, that ruins my image, or like there's some shame around that, or I can be hurt by giving you that. Yeah. But like last night, there was really just, it was peaceful. And you could just feel everyone like drop their burdens. Yeah. Here's a place where we can rest. Yeah. And fellowship.
What time does it start?
So good.
On Wednesdays? What time does it start?
So we have high schoolers showing up at 4:30. Okay. The program starts from 5:30 to 6:30. Okay. Yeah. And what that entails is it's games, music. We'll do some announcements and fun. And then I'll share 15 minutes of the gospel while we eat dinner together.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So you feed them?
Oh, yeah.
Every night?
Oh, that's crucial. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus, like, so much of the community was done around a table. And there's just something so there's something so humanizing about sitting across from somebody and having them chew and like swallow, and it doesn't matter. You could feel so intimidated by this person in so many other scenarios, and then you sit around the table with them, you eat, and you're like, oh, you're just a human. Like we're just people.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's real. That's really real. And kids, I should say young adults, right? Like these young adults that are in high school that are they want community. They want to be, kind of like what you talked about, earlier, right? They don't want to feel alone.
Yeah.
Right? They want that community, and what better way to find it than with people who have, a God-centered focus. I mean, it's amazing. I love it. Now, in as far as your program is based on what you raise, right? I mean, it comes down to fundraisers. Do you just have the one fundraiser, or do you have other opportunities for people to give and to support what you're doing?
Yeah. So right now, Art in the Garden is our main fundraiser.
Okay.
We're working on starting something up in the fall.
Okay.
It'll be a smaller, more intimate fundraiser.
Okay.
And then
Can you share it now? Can you talk about it now?
No, it's
No? Okay.
still,
Still working through it. Okay.
still working out the details.
Okay.
And then just throughout, it's a lot of me building relationships in the community.
Yeah.
And just inviting in. And so we have a lot of just personal donors.
Yeah.
That's probably the majority. And then we have churches
Okay.
that we'll speak to about partnerships. And then, the Art in the Garden is our main fundraiser.
Okay. Okay.
But there's plenty of opportunity.
Yeah.
And really, like, just come and see.
Yeah.
Come into the community and see if you want to be a part of it. But our students, another thing I asked them last night, it's like, how many of y'all eat around a table with your family? And out of 23 of them, 2 of them raised their hands.
Wow.
And so it's everything we're doing is so intentional.
Yeah.
And man, like families aren't eating around the dinner table together.
Yeah.
And San Antonio's identity is a family city.
Yeah. It is.
Spurs, we're the Spurs family.
La
HEB,
Familia.
we're your family.
Yeah.
And there's a major identity crisis when we're being told that our identity is family, but we're not acting like it.
Mm.
And we're not sitting around the table together, and we're not engaging in meaningful conversations. We're just staring at our phone or just tuning out.
Yeah.
And so it was extremely important, and especially because scripturally it speaks about being brothers and sisters in Christ.
Yeah.
And so, we love to eat together because you just feel like family.
Yeah.
It's so disarming.
Yeah.
If you got
true.
chocolate cake on your face, like,
Right.
yeah.
I just see, Eric, I get a sense that the kids, they really, your spirit when I first met you, I think your spirit disarms the kids in such a good way, because your spirit is so real, and you've come from a place of, you were in their shoes. You're young, so you're probably not even in your 30s yet, right? It's like, so you're coming from this spirit of, I've walked in your shoes and I was there, I know. And you have an ability to relate with them on a level that maybe not even some of their peers can relate to them in some ways, And so, man, I knew somehow we would be called to do something, and I still feel that strongly, that there's somehow, some way we're going to work together. And I'm going to be on a Wednesday. I'm definitely going to come out on a Wednesday and check it out. I want to be there. I want to, shake everybody's hand. And is there an age limit for volunteers? Do y'all typically have any age limits for the volunteers that come out?
We don't. And that's something that I've ran into a lot, is like, oh, I'm too old. They won't want to hear from me.
Mm.
And I mean, they might not want to hear from you at first.
Yeah.
But if you listen, they want somebody who will listen to them.
Right.
And so it's crazy. Like there is no age limit.
Okay.
I've seen the oddest couples
Yeah.
of leader and student.
Yeah.
That's like, how does that even work?
Right.
But when that leader is just willing to listen,
Yeah.
I'll tell you too, our students, within 5 minutes of meeting them, they will tell you exactly who they believe they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is no shame in it. There's no hiding it.
Yeah.
They will tell you who they believe that they are.
Yeah.
And from there, you can take that time
Yeah.
to start breaking down those beliefs.
Yeah.
Of like, I'm inadequate.
Yeah.
I'm not enough. And you can take your time. Like, now I know who you believe that you are.
Yeah.
But now I see who God believes that you are. And so I'm going to walk with you through that.
Yeah.
So just listening.
Do y'all have a lot of mentors right now that have come alongside you? Like how many mentors do you have in the program?
No, right now we have 8.
8 mentors?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's fantastic. And these are people that have maybe come up in the program, or have they been a part of it at one point?
Yeah, we have several.
That's cool.
So 2 go to St. Philip's College.
Okay.
One of them we got to hire.
You did get to hire him.
So she's a part-time staff member
Wow,
now.
congratulations.
It's huge.
I remember you told me about that.
It's been such a dream of mine to get somebody from the East Side
Yes.
on staff.
That's awesome.
And she felt called. It is so wonderful.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, she's done more ministry in the last 2 weeks than I feel I've done in my life.
What's her name? We got to give her a shout out.
Her name is Jada. Jada Roberts.
Shout out to Jada. That's fantastic. I'm so happy for you guys.
Yeah.
And for Jada. Because this is going to change Jada's life too. I mean, this is going to be a big game changer for her as well.
Yeah.
And so I love that. So you have Jada that is now helping out. And so the biggest, it sounds like to me like the biggest way somebody could step in at this point is to come to club.
Yeah.
On Wednesday nights, probably get there, 4:30 time frame.
4:30 would be great.
4:30. Do they need to bring anything? Is there anything that they need to bring?
No, I mean, they could bring some drinks.
Okay, yeah.
Bring some drinks, bring some
sodas that people love. I bet you they love soda and all of that, right?
Yeah.
Any kind of Cokes and all of that.
So another thing that happens other than on Wednesdays is that campus ministry is open. So we keep the fridge stocked with waters or drinks. We keep it stocked with snacks. We don't want any of our students we want them to perform as best as they can.
Yeah.
Having food in their bellies and just having plenty of water.
Yeah.
And so that's something that is always needed.
Okay.
There's not enough food, water that anyone can bring.
Okay. Cool.
It will be put to use.
They'll take care.
So take some drinks.
Okay.
But yeah, mainly just show up. Because from there, we can decide whether or not you want to pursue in this community.
Yeah.
And from there, we can talk and discern of what gifts because we don't want to. I don't want to assign anybody a job or a role outside of their gifting.
Yeah.
I mean, my God.
Smart.
When ministry happens well, it's Andrea saying, I'm an artist.
Yeah.
I communicate with people. Let me just put those 2 things together and use it for the ministry.
Yeah.
Boom. Amazing. I've got Jada. Like, she's outstanding at inviting people.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell her, like, hey, sit behind the computer and do the run the numbers.
Right. Do social media. Yeah.
So anyway, if anyone,
Smart.
if they come and they feel called to it, from there we can discern just where they would serve better, because we want this to give life to you as well. Yeah, there's something so amazing about serving and giving your life. Simultaneously, you're being filled with life.
Yeah.
So we want that. We want a healthy community where everyone wants to be there and feels a part of it and is using their gifts and they're feeling God's glory in all of it. And
yeah. I love that. Yesterday I got a chance. I teach a lesson. It's developing the mindset to win in life, right? And I taught it for Bernie seniors. They have this special program called Leader Steps, and it is a killer program. So kids apply, and then there's 8 full days that they get pulled out, and they get lessons from business owners, people in the community, and it's an all-day thing. They dress up, they've got to wear a tie, and they got to look sharp. But ultimately, the whole culmination of it is they have to make a resume and they have to do a job interview. Is the culminating experience. Like, tell me how amazing that is.
That's
right?
so good.
It's so good. And I remember here, I interviewed, I had a couple of people that have come throughout the years, I don't know, probably 5 or 6. And I would sit down and interview them. And I have my assistant here, and we'd go through a little interview. And I just sat there and I was like, man, I wish I had something like this. And I tell the kids every time I go teach them, I say, you don't really understand how amazing this is. What you have here. It's amazing. And so, but one of the things I talked about kind of leads into what you said is this idea of the value cycle. Is what your ministry is doing is teaching. The first part of it is that you have value. Yes. Every one of those kids have value. And depending on where they're at, they may not feel that. They may not believe that, right? So it's got to start there, that you've got to see value in yourself. And that's what God can do. God can help you really see the value that you have of this creation that he's created. You're unique. There's only one. Yes. You know what I mean? And so you've got to see that value. And then once you see that value, now you got to start adding value to yourself. You've got to seek to learn. You got to seek to make yourself better, personal growth. And the Bible is one way to do that, right? It's learning and reading. And then once you start doing that, there is the natural byproduct is add value to others. And this is where you serve and you pour into other people. And so that's the value cycle. John Maxwell said, there's one sentence in one of John Maxwell's books that talks about this. And I've been teaching this because I really feel like when people see the value in themselves, they'll add value to themselves, and then they will add value to others. And it creates this cyclical cycle of this, or not even cyclical, but it creates this permanent cycle of, because when you add value to others, you immediately get, that's where you give, you immediately get even more understanding of your value. Right? It's just powerful how that works. And so now the real deep question is, how can people serve you? You're serving this community, you know? How I think about, what you're pouring into these kids. And I think about being on the East Side and how can people serve you to help you keep that fire going for the East Side?
Man, that's a good question. And one that I have never been good at answering.
Yeah.
See, I went to school for sound engineering so that I can turn the mics on and hop behind the camera. So putting the spotlight on myself is difficult of how I could be served. Let's see. Honestly, just fellowship.
Yeah.
And mature relationship.
Okay.
I would love for people who have, we'll say, lived more life than myself.
Yeah.
To spend a little time with me.
Yeah.
And help glean some of their wisdom and pour in their knowledge to myself. Something that I love so much, like, and how I really experience God a lot of the times is through my mind and knowledge, learning something new about Scripture, digging deeper.
Yeah.
And so having somebody that's older than me, willing to take the time to just meet with me and pour in wisdom and it's just spend time with me.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
That's powerful.
Mentorship.
Yeah. I love it.
That's something I've been looking for a while.
I love it. Well, I'm hoping that obviously with this podcast, with this we want to put this out there for those of you who are hearing your story. If you are familiar with the East Side, if you know people on the East Side, if you know of churches on the East Side, because I remember you shared something with me that was so powerful. As you shared, listen, because I thought Young Life was connected to Church X or Church Y, and you said no. This is a ministry so that we could plug in to help with any church, whoever's out there that wants to nurture these kids. We want them to go where their grandparents are going. We want them to go where their parents are going, right? And when I heard that, I was like, I really like Young Life. It really connected with me in a powerful way to be like, that is a ministry that's not about the glory of just the ministry, but it's the glory of God being like revealed to these kids so that they can go plug in where they need to plug in. Not, hey, we need you to plug in here. We need you to plug in right here. I love that. And so for the churches that are on that on the East Side or close to the East Side, reach out to Eric. Eric, what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, by phone. And if you go to the website, I've got my phone number, my email address. Just give me a call.
Yeah. You want to say it on? You can say it on the podcast if you don't mind. Yeah.
So my phone number is 830-385-1015. And give me a call. I would love to meet with you. None of these students are mine. They're God's children.
Yeah.
And the way I see things, like not even the clothes on the back are mine. I'm a steward of what I've been given by the grace of God. And so I truly desire to be in relationship with churches, with people that have something to offer these students that can take them to the next level of their faith.
Yep.
Like, I'm not naive enough to believe that I can be the sole one to get them from never reading the Bible and just knowing nothing about Jesus to being their mentor for the next 20 years.
Right.
We need a body of Christ.
You need other people involved.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. Denomination, if you love Jesus, if you love the youth, because they're beautiful, vibrant, there's such an amazing generation coming up.
Yeah.
And they've grown up on technology their whole lives. And they've got an amazing BS meter. I'll tell you, man, it's so awesome.
Oh, I love it.
And so when they get a little hint of truth, and love, it's like it's dropping a little drop of water in the desert.
Yeah.
And they want more.
Yeah.
They just want to be told the truth and not be lied to and not sold something.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we have an amazing, artistic, just brilliant generation that's coming up.
I love it.
And if you love Jesus, if you love this country, reach out to me. Yeah. Let's love some of these high schoolers. They're going to change the world. They are.
We need them. Yeah, we need them. Now, last but not least, I want to look at some of these pictures. I know Soren's got some of these pictures because of camp. Because when I saw some of these pictures, I thought, okay, this is a resort, you know what I mean? And so, you know, those of you watching the podcast, we'll have a few of these pictures up, but we can flip through a little bit here. Tell us a little bit about this particular camp and what are some of the experiences that kids get to have? Because your summer program, basically, you take your group, about 50 kids, get to go to camp somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And could more go if you had the funding? Is that
Yes,
possible?
It's possible, yeah.
Okay, so that's something to keep in mind for everybody here that's listening to this, is that with more funding, there's more opportunity for kids to go. And I'm looking at a beautiful, what is this? What is this building? This is a resort. What is this? Is that where they sleep?
No, so that was the leader lounge
Yeah.
and the infirmary, I believe.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. So that one, yeah, that's the rope swing
That
they
looks
built going right into the lake.
amazing.
Yeah, no, these camps are amazing properties. In the background of these boys is the basketball gym,
They had indoor basketball gym.
indoor basketball gym.
Okay.
Just an amazing facility. There's a lot of free time at camp too, so that when we do give these heavy talks about Jesus, they go out and just experience this wonderful facility.
Yeah.
And a bunch of volunteers who have just given their time to serve them. These two girls I love so dearly.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Their stories, the personalities that are in this picture, so different. But yet there's I don't know. There's a unity in the pursuit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is a good picture.
What are all the names here?
Yeah, so that's Gio.
Gio?
This boy has a heart 10 times bigger than his body.
Wow.
I have no idea how he stuffs all the heart in there.
Yeah.
Donovan,
Yeah.
he loves so well.
Yeah.
He loves his friends. He loves his mother. He loves his brothers. He's such a protector. And
Yeah.
Cece, she is wild.
Yeah.
Cece she's a powerful person. When she walks in the room, she'd intimidate the hardest man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then when it comes down to it, she loves people so well.
Yeah.
Like there's this tenderness.
I love it.
That's Jared. Man, his mama raised a wonderful boy.
Yeah.
He is so intelligent. He's so driven.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind that he's gonna run his own business when he graduates high
That's
school.
cool. Yeah.
This is Des. I've never experienced any other human being in my life that is as full of as much joy as Des.
joy. Yeah.
Everything makes her laugh. She's always on the cusp of laughing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she's overflowing with joy.
That's awesome.
God, she's so amazing. She's our youngest in the group too.
Yeah.
This is Sais. Sais has a wild story.
Yeah.
But from her grandma's perspective, that she's been proclaiming the gospel since she was 7 years old.
Wow.
And I mean, you just can't meet Sais without knowing that you're in the presence of someone who knows God.
Yeah. Wow.
You're just like, you know him.
Yeah. That's cool.
I cannot speak enough about her. She goes to St. Philip's, so she was here as a leader.
Oh, wow. Okay. So she get to come with the high schoolers to be one of the leaders. That's super cool.
That's another thing. And they're all going back. We're all going back together. Like we're all going to go live life back together. We go to camp, and then we're coming back home together.
Yeah.
And so Sai still sees them, still leads them.
Yeah, that's
loves
cool.
them on the same campus too.
That's cool.
Isis. She is a firecracker.
Yeah.
Man, in every sense of the word. She's always ready to like have a boxing match.
Yeah.
Because she's so passionate.
Yeah.
About the people she loves, and she's so passionate just about people she cares for.
Yeah.
And then Cheyenne. She's Isis' sister.
Yeah.
She's a little more of the reserved one.
Okay.
Like, all right, Isis, let's not throw hands. But this was her first time leading at camp, both Isis and Cheyenne.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of, see, this was a hard thing. is discerning like who should be leaders when we get to camp, right? Very difficult in the Christian context because we're all sinners and fall short of the glory of God.
For sure.
What is confusing to the students that are like, wait, but you do this, but you say this.
Yeah.
And so discerning who should be a leader on these trips. Prayed, Cheyenne, Isis, come on.
Yeah.
Let's go lead. You're going to lead. Well, mister, I want to be a student. I want to, like, no, you're going to lead.
Yeah.
I could not be more proud of them stepping up to that challenge. They loved the students so well.
Yeah.
They put themselves in extremely difficult situations that would flare up when you got people who are working through stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they faced it head on and with love and just, I'm so proud of them.
That's cool.
So these two sisters, they're just incredible human beings.
That's super cool. Keep flipping there, Soren. Who is this? Is he with your group?
He's not.
He's not? Okay.
He's a work crew student.
Yeah.
And he volunteered his time to be there.
To be there to help out and serve.
For 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yes.
And they don't, this is not a paid.
They're not getting paid.
They're not getting paid. Wow. Keep going, Soren. That's super cool. I want to see, do you have a picture of the basketball court? Is that in here?
Let's see. Oh, that's our leader group. Oh,
you're going
to get some nature shots. So
I love it.
So
this
time
is such a beautiful area. Where is this at? Georgia, right?
Yeah. So this is at the foothills of the Appalachians. It's
What?
like just right where the Appalachians start.
Wow.
And yeah, you'd see the smoke roll through the Smoky Mountains. It's
Yeah.
gorgeous. But here's another thing. Like, I brought 3 cameras.
Yeah.
So we take the students' phones up when we get to camp.
Oh, talk about that. No phones. The whole time?
The whole time they're at camp.
So they can't touch your phone for how many days?
No, so 6
days straight.
6 days straight.
This is
amazing.
that story. That's awesome. I love it.
So yeah, we take up their phones.
Yeah.
So I bring 3 cameras.
Yeah.
And it's just awesm, like, to give them the camera.
Yeah.
See what they do with it. And
That's
they take
so
wonderful
cool.
pictures. But yeah, we're at the beginning of the Appalachian Mountain.
Yeah.
So it's
He's in San Antonio, right? This is the whole San Antonio group?
Yes.
Okay, got it. What a cool, man. This is so awesome. I bet the ride there has to be for a lot of these kids that haven't been to camp, it's got to be a lot of anxiety. They don't know what to expect.
Well, it's so inevitably when we hit Houston,
Yeah.
I get half the bus at least.
Yeah.
If they haven't been to camp before.
Okay.
When they hit Houston, they say, this is the furthest I've ever been from San Antonio. So then we go to East Texas and there's pine trees. And they're just like, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like, that's why it's so crucial that we get these students out of San Antonio, not out of San Antonio, but into a different part of the country.
Yeah,
like,
different part. Yep.
They've never experienced.
And how many kids are at this camp during that week?
This one was about 450.
450 kids.
Yeah, high schoolers.
Wow. I love it, man. This is so good for them, for any kid. I don't care who you are. I don't care. I remember going to church camp growing up. It's a powerful experience, you know what I mean? And I think every kid needs to experience that, and it's a game changer. Thanks, Soren. So I know you said mentorship, right? You said that's what you need right now, and definitely, man, I'm gonna be praying for some serious mentors to step up and come out, and show themselves in a way to where they can walk alongside and help with what you're doing, but pour into you, because I really feel like, when I think for those that are in the ministry like this, there can be, like you said, the mature relationship. There could be this need for, like, you're spending a lot of time with high school kids, college kids. There's a need to, you don't want to be the smartest one in the room. You know what I mean? That's right.
I know what you mean.
I can't always be the smartest one in the room, You need to find a bigger room, and I feel I totally get it. It makes total sense. And I'm gonna be praying for that big time, man. That God sends some mentors, to send some people to really help out, to break bread with you.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
with you and your wife and your kids, because what you're doing with Young Life on the East Side is powerful. You know, it's huge. It's why I wanted you to be on the show. I want to share this message with as many people as possible, to help shine a light on what you're doing and find some way to figure out what is the gift that God is calling me on, how I can help with what you're doing. You know what I mean? So Eric, thank you for being on TM3 Impact, my friend. I appreciate you sharing your life and just being so open and so real. That's what we need, right? And that's what the kids need. They really need that. They need somebody to listen and be real. And so once again, share with everybody the dates you meet, the times you meet, in the location.
Yeah, absolutely. So our Instagram is SAEastYL. Our website, saeastyl.com. We meet on Wednesdays at on St. Philip's campus. And then we meet from 4:30 to 7 o'clock on Wednesdays.
Yeah, and you did hear him. He said there is food. Okay,
There is food. We have.
What do y'all typically do? Like pizza? What do you, a little bit of everything, or what do you do?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Yeah.
My wife is so good.
Oh, she cooks.
No.
Oh, I was gonna say.
But she puts out a meal train.
Yeah.
And so we either get like home cooked meals, or
Yeah.
last night we had Chick-fil-A.
Get out of here.
I mean, we had piles of Chick-fil-A nuggets and everything, like the whole
Oh
spread.
my goodness.
We were, blessed in every sense of the
Wow.
word. We had some German chocolate cake to celebrate some birthdays.
Wow.
So yeah, if you're hungry, just stop by, get something to eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It-
it's
pour
amazing.
into some amazing kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's something for you.
Yep.
There's something for you and for your soul. I'm telling you, you cannot meet these kids and not just be like, man, they're an amazing group of people.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of them. They're going to go on to change the world. But it starts with somebody that is intentionally pouring into them and loving them.
Love it. Thank you, my friend. We'll be talking soon, Eric. Take care.
Thanks so much.